In today's video, I want to go ahead and create a clamp camera. And if you're not sure what that means, I want the camera to move with my player as he's moving along, but I don't want it to just keep freely moving. So as my player moves over here, let's say I keep the camera centered, I don't want it to show any of this area. So I want it to clamp. So, as he's moving along, of course, keep him centered, but when he gets to a certain point, or at least when the camera gets to a certain point, it stops following him. And at most you'll see like the wall, the whole wall. Same thing as when he goes to the side, to this side. So you got a little bit of a range of movement. Also, let's do the top and bottom as well. Now my game is not that big into side scrolling, but if you have something like Super Mario, where you had those really, really long levels, remember when you got to the end, how you could jump and get to the flag, but the camera would stop scrolling to the right? This is going to be a similar effect. And it's a super simple and short script. Now to get the camera to follow the player, we could just go ahead, drag and drop it on, make it a child. Then we went ahead and started a script. I guess I should have centered it. But as we see, it doesn't clamp. Same thing as if we went up to the top, it's not clamping. So that's not going to work. Let's go ahead, we'll write a script for it. So I'm going to come into the script folder, and I'm just going to call it Clamp Cam 2D. Let's open this up and mono develop. And right off the bat, I'll clear everything out. Now I know I want this on the camera, but it doesn't have anything to do with the camera component. So I'm not going to require that. But I do know I only ever want one of these components on my camera. So I'm going to use the disallow multiple component. And since this camera is going to be following something, I want to make sure that I actually have that stored. So I'll create a serialized field of type transform, which I'll call target. And it keeps putting target joint 2D in. There we go. Now my camera is going to be moving around, and I'm going to be moving that around in one of the updates. So I want to make sure I go ahead and cache that as well. But this can just be private. I'm just going to call it T. Now with Unity 5, they've made a lot of performance updates where they've gone ahead and managed to optimize a lot of the stuff where you really don't need it anymore. But it is still a bit of a tweak, and it only takes 2 lines of code. So I'm going to keep it. There we go. And void late update. And we could say t.position is equal to target.position. Save this off. We'll jump back into Unity. Take that script. Make sure we have our camera highlighted. We'll go drag and drop it on. It's going to ask us for our target, which is the player. But I didn't mean that. I meant to close them. Click the camera, drag the player in. It's going to grab the transform. Now, we don't have any clamping, but it at least follows them. So it's just the same as dragging and dropping it on, except we're also grabbing its Z position, which we don't want. So let's go ahead and fix this up. So I'm going to go and set some bounds for the left and right. We'll start there. So let's create a serialized field of type float. And I'm going to call it X min, meaning the minimum value on X. And I'll start that off at -1. I'm not really sure what the values are. I know my scene is small though, so they'll be close to 0. And for the max, I'm going to make it a +1. And we'll do those ones first. So I'm going to go ahead, create a float. I'll just call it X, and this is going to be equal to, and I'm going to use the math library. So mathf.clamp, and if we take a look here, we can pass in any value, for instance, our target's position, his X position, and then we have the ability to clamp it on to the minimum or maximum value, so that if it exceeds the maximum value, it'll return the maximum value. If it drops below the minimum value, it'll return that minimum value. If it's in between there, it's just going to return the value. That's exactly what we want. A lot of times when I'm writing my scripts, I actually go ahead and write my own clamp functions. And I'm not sure why I always forget about this in math. It's a very common function. But for some reason, when I sit down in Unity, I always end up writing my own. So let's go target.position.x. Then we can use x min. Make sure you get the min first. X max. There we go. And now we're going to assign a new vector 3. And I'm going to use X. And I'm going to go ahead and create the float Y up here while I'm at it, because we'll be doing that one next. Float Y. And for now, I'm just going to equal it to 0. And then I don't want us to go ahead and grab the Z from the target. I want to keep using our own Z. I want to keep us on the same position of that axis. So T.position.Z. So let's go ahead and take a look at this in action. So no errors. We'll go ahead. We'll start it. And I got my target assigned, right? There we go. So it looks like we could bring this in a bit. It's too far to the right. So about 0.75 looks good. And it looks like to the left we can go a little bit further. Pull it to the left. So about there. So about 2.35. Great. Let's quickly check this again. So there we go. We have the X and the min X, min, and max X done. So we'll go ahead and we'll keep these. I'm going to copy the component, stop, then paste those values back in. There we go. So all we have to do now is just get the Y working. So I'm going to jump in, do the exact same thing, except grab my Y values this time. So we'll have a Y min, Y max. And again, I don't know what the values need to be, so I'll leave them at -1 and +1. And we'll do the exact same thing for clamp. So instead of grabbing his X position, we'll grab his Y position. We'll compare on Y min, Y max. And we're going to assign that in. So we'll go ahead, we'll save that off. I need that, and I'm going to put a space in there. So we'll jump back into Unity. Wait for it to recompile. There we go. We got our values here. And let's see how those work. So -1 could be a little higher. That's fine. Oops, got stuck there. There we go. That'll be our next video. Yeah, it looks fine actually. Maybe a little higher. There we go. So 1.8. And let's go min. Well, right here. Let's bring this up a bit. So about there. Let's say -2.5. That looks great. So again, I'm just going to copy my values. Stop and make sure to paste them in as values. There we go. So we've got it set up now. Now I can clamp to the size of my level and make sure that my camera never exceeds my level and doesn't show the areas that I haven't actually either finished working on or just don't plan on actually adding anything over there. Anyway, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. So if you liked the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. It really does help me out here on YouTube. And go ahead and follow me on Twitter. You're a pretty chatty guy over there when I'm not walking through a forest or being stalked by eagles and falcons, lions, tigers, and bears.